We are evaluating big results now for education in Tanzania, and it's a very big, ambitious, systems-wide reform focusing explicitly on improving learning outcomes in the country. And so there are two big questions we want to answer. The one thing is what happens when the whole education system reorientates itself towards outputs rather than inputs and places pressure on schools to improve learning. How does this change the accountability relationships within the country as a whole, and could that eventually improve learning outcomes? Secondary, we want to know more about the political economy, the factors that led to the reform itself, and what kind of coalitions were required to implement and sustain the reform. There's two aspects I think that are interesting. So the one aspect is that unlike previous evaluations of specific programs, we are evaluating government policies that have run at scale. So knowing what works at that kind of national scale level is a very different set of questions we'll be answering. And this is potentially the first time that a developing country really wants to emphasize focusing on learning outcomes and to try to understand what happens when the whole education shifts towards learning outcomes. Secondary, in order to understand the process that led towards this reform, the political economy behind it, what we can learn is not only the policies that work, but the processes that could lead or inhibit eventual change in policies.